the 9/11 stuff, man, I wish I knew more just so I could have an opinion, but that's kind of like...
You're never going to know. There's so much information. It's one of those things no one's ever going to know.
Yeah, I feel like that's like how they try and, people don't want us to think we know. They don't want us to even try and find stuff out, so they kind of, it's like that's the thing. They're like, hey, listen, there's so much information, there's so much, they just try and kind of, throw out so many voices at once that, we don't even bother listening to any of them, because we're like, how would we even know? The one thing that's weird, real weird, even as, I don't see myself as, an Alex Jones or kind of conspiracy dude, but the Tower 7, the one where they, dudes just were like, they said to pull it, so we pulled it, and it's like, what the fuck? That's the one thing. They, there was, the two towers came down in the morning, September 11th, and then they got, later on in the day, 5 hours later or whatever. Now the building
7.
Building 7 collapsed as well, but it was, 5-6 hours later, and it was like, oh, that's weird, and it was I guess it was, from the dust, nobody thought to question it at the time because it was just so, you didn't know which way was up that day.
Hectic, yeah.
Right.
Well, I guess no building had ever fallen of that material, whatever that steel is made of, those reinforcements, those are the first 3 buildings to ever fall from a fire.
And that's one of the things I remember is that they say no buildings ever crash from a fire, because they said the plane crash doesn't knock down the building, but they said the fire melted the steel.
Yeah.
Right.
I heard, you hear a lot of information. I heard Michio Kaku, who's this physicist guy, say that, fire doesn't melt steel, but what it does is weaken steel, so that it can allow it to fall.
But even then, you can just YouTube Building 7, 9/11 or whatever, and it's it just implodes. It's not And I wish I knew what it looks like when steel melts and a building collapses, but it looks as efficient. I've watched it on, where there are implosions on purpose. It's old baseball stadiums and
demolitions,
stuff. And that when Building 7 came down, that was as efficient and as controlled a demolition I've ever seen.
Straight
down.
It just came straight down. It seemed like it was a controlled explosion.
And there was there was a discussion that was had by the guy, I forget if it was the guy who owned the building or ran it or whatever, but they were like, hey, we just don't think it's safe, so we're gonna pull it. And the guy was like, yeah, do whatever you gotta do. And he just but you weren't thinking about it. But that was a discussion that somebody had where they were they told the guy, make sure you're not in there, make sure you're out of there, we're gonna pull it. And we're gonna pull the building. And it's okay, that was somebody that said that knew before, it was a conscious thing. So just the fact that...
in the building?
No, not 7. Not so, because it was it was later on in the day. It wasn't even
they evacuated?
Yeah, they had evacuated it, gotten everyone out. And then,
it was around the area?
Yeah, it was it was nearby. So So the Building 7 is kind of the magic bullet, kind of something about that part of it doesn't add up. And I don't know what it is.
Tower 7's the battle cry of the truthers that I hear all the time. It's the magic bullet and the moon landing, the flag or whatever. It's
tough.
But
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that black people don't really exist? They're just your shadows that follow you.
I have not heard that.
I can't.
That's a new one that just came out.
I will say this. I cannot, for the life of me, I can't imagine why this conspiracy theory doesn't gain more traction.
Yeah.
Nothing but legitimate voices behind this cause.
Sounds so true.
I mean,